In today's episode, we're going to break down the news, including Binance's new launch in a GCC or Middle Eastern country that's been sanctioned. We are also going to touch on the Iran and Israel conflict, but not too much. We don't want to get political. And finally, we're going to break down this new article that came out about Trump's wealth creation that has come from crypto over the last 5 years. And finally, we're going to end with my favorite segment, our trading competition. And let's just say this week has gone really well for me. I don't know if Michiel can say the same. Stay tuned and find out.
NFA Podcast with Nish and Frackers, all things crypto tech and
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the NFA Podcast, where Nish, Frackers, and you guys who are listening all come together to not give financial advice, but to prepare you to understand the markets better when it comes to tech, emerging tech, AI, blockchain, and so on.
Innovation.
I'm so distracted because we have this trading competition going on, and every week I forget about it until Friday morning, or maybe even 30 minutes before the podcast. And this Friday morning, I actually ended up losing a bit of money. But as soon as we hit record, my meme coin that I got into is like done 2.5x now. So I'm really excited about it. Stay tuned if you want to find out more.
First of all, let me preface this by saying that love you, but you're a complete and total liar. You're completely obsessed by the trading competition. I was afraid of that when I came up with the idea. I knew you were going to cream me with your stupid meme coins, but I didn't think it would take over your whole life the way it is done. And you're pretending every Friday, like, I never thought of this until this morning, and I just thought of the
You can check my wallet.
Oh.
I will post my wallet address. I have 0.6 SOL in there.
Fine, but you probably the whole day looking at it, clicking at it while you're doing surgery on innocent victims, and then looking on your phone like going, "Oh, this is oh yeah, oops."
No,
I think that's what's really going on.
It's so stressful. That's why I leave it to 30 minutes before the podcast episode. It like gives me so much anxiety knowing that I'm on pump fund and I can lose my $15 at any given moment.
We have two segments on this. I hate calling it a show, but on this podcast, we do the news, things that we both found in the news and that we want to discuss. And then second, we do the market segment. So let's start with the news segment. Do you have any news, something that struck you as you want to discuss today? Anything special?
I don't know, maybe Iran and Israel?
I'm beginning to fear that since we tape on Friday afternoon in Asia and in Dubai time, I'm in Asia and Nish is in the Gulf region, it looks like everybody does something on Thursday nights. This is like, I don't know, the 7th week in a row that I'm going, before I go to bed, I'm like looking at like the script and I'm like, oh, this is the news items. Oh, okay. And then wake up the next morning and what happened? So when I went to bed last night, Bitcoin was at 109 and I said, yes, for the trading competition, because at least I admit I'm competitive, unlike some people in this podcast that shall not be named. It was, I bought at 104, it's now at 109. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting, at least I'm up. At least I'm not down. Wake up this morning, look, 103. I cannot believe what's going on.
Well, it's back at 104 now. But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But that's basically the big news story of today, of course. A few weeks ago, it was Trump and Elon got into a fight the night before we started taping. Now, we have this going on with Israel attacking nuclear facilities in Iran, and how's that news in the Gulf region? Is it because it's closer to you? Is that bigger news than it is here?
I mean, I haven't switched on the TV, but I get my news on Twitter, so I'm just following updates on Twitter. It's insane. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you don't go to like a CNN or whatever, some news website?
We're watching the news last night, but I haven't watched it this morning. And of course, I've checked up, exactly what's going on between Iran and Israel online. But, news articles, working in PR, I just kind of know how these media outlets work. And I know that, there's obviously information bias that goes on the media side. And you'll see it in every single war. And so that's why I kind of like Twitter as a decentralized media outlet, because even though there's a lot of misinformation, you just have to be smarter than that. But it just, you kind of get news from all avenues.
So it is interesting right now that it appears that the markets are not overreacting. I'll leave the political news and the combat news to more specialized people, although I guess I'm dressed appropriately in army green for today's taping. But the response hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be when I looked what was going on. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a couple memes of Iran and Israel fighting, and everyone's on the floor just waiting for a bull market or altcoin season, and that's pretty much the sentiment. I think everyone's like, this year, like you said, every single week there's some explosive news that could potentially nuke the markets, and everyone's just done with it. We've just adapted, and we just expect it now.
You know what I just thought of? I'm going to cut it. I'm going to edit this. And then at the point where I ask you, did you see what's going on? Anything big in the news? And then you're going to say, well, I just saw a couple of memes about Iran getting attacked by Israel because I get my news on Twitter. I can flip this in a way that makes you look like a complete idiot. I just cut out the part in the middle.
I dare you.
Who's going to know? The live stream viewers? So no, I really seriously think that everybody was always talking in the last weeks if this would happen, that the markets would tank. And when I'm looking at the futures for the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones Index, they're not as negative as I thought they would be. The Nikkei didn't even close that bad. But the Asian markets didn't respond as strongly as I thought they would. So I'm surprised by this, really, that there's not a stronger reaction.
I think that's exactly it. It's just like everyone's been hit with so much negative news that it's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. So, okay. So do we have any other news other than than Israel firing over on Tehran?
So Binance has launched in Syria. And Hong Kong, this made Cointelegraph headlines. Hong Kong is trying to invent a crypto tracking tool against money laundering.
Interesting. I would like to know more about how that would work.
It already exists. You have blockchain explorers. So what are they doing?
You don't know the source. The whole point about tracking is not when it comes on chain. It should be the moment that the funds come in. When they become on chain. I think that's the crucial point.
I get that.
It's tough to do. I mean, difficult.
But then that's the exchange's jobs. That's your KYC, AML.
No, that's really true. But with the DEXs, with the rise of DEXs, of course, and large trading volumes going on that were originating not on centralized exchanges, but on decentralized exchanges, it is much tougher. But at a certain point of entry into the space, there has to be verification of the source of funds. I really do think so.
Agreed, 100%. But that, again, comes through regulation. And Hong Kong, if you remember, 3-4 years ago now, I think it was 2022, I believe, they had created these amazing jurisdiction regulations, and they wanted crypto companies to start registering in Hong Kong. And rumor had it that this was actually China using Hong Kong as a test, just like they did with Macau for gambling, just to kind of test the waters. So during that process, though, we had a lawyer come into our office and explain the entire process to us. And obviously, KYC, AML laws, they were such a big play of the part. So I know that they've integrated all of these anti-money laundering structures in place. I'm just curious when it fell off.
So you're thinking that because they're introducing some kind of new tool now, is it introduced or are they just talking about introducing
it? They're just talking about it. So it means that it's already an issue, you know?
I guess otherwise they wouldn't be talking about coming up with a scheme to protect it. So that's an interesting thing though, that because Hong Kong and China, of course, that whole relationship is still very murky in the sense that most investors and people from the business world see Hong Kong now as a part of China, of a federated China, and it stops investments into Hong Kong really, fairly or unfairly. It depends on what your position on China is.
What news do you have?
Well, the news I had, which is very boring now in comparison, was that in France there was this whole big event, of course, with President Macron sitting in the middle going, yeah, yeah. And on his side here, he had Jensen Huang, the CEO and founder of Nvidia. And on the other side, he had Arthur Mensch, the founder of Mistral. So Mistral is like the last European fortress fighting the American AI supremacy, really. Arthur Mensch is one of the smartest people in this space, very well respected. And there's another great French guy called Yann LeCun who runs the AI efforts for Meta. But Arthur Mensch sat there on this side, and basically they announced with Macron and with Nvidia, to everyone's surprise, that Mistral is doing I would say full stack, but a full service AI platform. And really interesting because it would allow all European and Asian companies to put their data and all their applications in Europe instead of in the US, which in this moment, which is very tense with Trump controlling pretty much OpenAI and all the American companies, your Amazon, your Meta are all bowing to President Trump. To give you an example how they're bowing to President Trump, I think tomorrow in Amsterdam is the annual Pride Parade. It used to be called Gay Pride. Now it's just called Pride. Meta and Amazon used to have boats. So they go through the canals, and every boat there's a whole bunch of gay people, and they're dancing and singing, and it's a great party in Amsterdam. It's actually a family event. And they were always there. This year, no boats from Amazon and from Meta, because they're trying not to offend the Trump administration. That's how afraid Amazon and Meta are of Trump's rage and of the MAGA community. So for business people, and this is a really, really big thing in Europe and in Asia, there was this big event that happened a few weeks ago, which didn't get enough news, in my opinion, which is that the head of the International Court of Justice in The Hague, which is a UN entity, which is not recognized by the Americans, the guy couldn't log in to his Microsoft account anymore. And all the data of the tribunal, all the court stuff, and basically all the documents were also on Microsoft servers, and got locked out of his own account. So not only could not get his email, could not get to the data. And it was done at the request of the Trump administration. And everybody in Europe freaked, because it meant that a lot of companies in Europe, and especially government agencies, have all their data and all their accounts on Microsoft.
Yeah.
And are now looking for an
alternative. That's a really big problem.
And suddenly in AI, there's now an alternative. There's Mistral, the European LLM. It was sort of the also ran. Funny part is Mistral is funded largely by American investors. Yeah. Kind of like how a lot of American companies.
How long have they been around for?
Europe. Mistral is, I think, now 2 years old. In their first round, they were valued already over $1 billion. I remember that I wrote about them early on because they were going to be open source, and then they weren't really. So I was very disappointed at that, because I still think there's a huge market for a real open source LLM and AI initiative. A long story short, it's interesting that Europe, and that's the biggest news for me this week, is trying to announce a European effort, of course spearheaded by Macron, who then says France is leading this effort against the Americans. And also interesting because last year he had all this handshake and all these things with sitting on stage with Sam Altman of OpenAI. But now he's suddenly all pro Mistral. And it is a great initiative, and there's nothing wrong with Mistral's product. They're seen as an also-ran behind OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, sort of at the same level as Meta, sort of there in number 4 or 5 positions. But this could really help their business, because now they can do the whole data center thing. They can do data centers with Nvidia. They can do everything plus applications. So suddenly, you have an alternative, at least in AI, for all companies that don't want to house on US servers.
Well, there you go. That makes sense. When do you think we're going to see for the rest of the industries?
I'm waiting for an Asian initiative. I'm not joking. Of course, there's a Chinese initiative, but there should be something like outside of China. There's a whole, again, we're coming to this point that you raise very often about India. India has the people, has the talent.
Yeah.
It is frustrating for me to see that India has not come up with something.
Do you think that there's going to be a decentralization of storage because of stuff like this?
Yeah, there will be. I mean, for example, we've talked about this, all the data that we have at Tracer is not on American servers, hasn't been from the start. And just to be clear, also not on Chinese servers, but on neutral grounds. And there's a reason for this, of course.
Yeah.
So it is just that the arm of the American government is far-reaching, and it's too far-reaching, clearly. I mean, if you can block the Microsoft account of the head of the International court of justice. And this is a long answer to your question. Do you see storage distributed? Yes, there will be a non-American solution for storage and AI application. Not just storage, it's really application level as well. The only problem is there is no alternative for Microsoft and Google, really. There isn't.
No, there isn't. It's they're monopolies on their own.
Yeah,
totally. I will say though, for AI, I mean, I talk about it almost every week. BitTensor, it already exists. I love their tech. I'm so bullish on BitTensor in the long run. In the short run, no, I'm way down.
Way down. Okay, do we have anything more? We have more in news, or can we move to the market segments? Because that's what everybody wants to know.
I do have a very interesting take on. Forbes published an article today about how much wealth Trump has created for himself through crypto. And the numbers are staggering. So they summed it up to $1.2 billion from the launch of first his NFTs, which happened in 2022, I believe, or 2021.
Yeah, forgot about those. Completely forgot about those.
My dad still has them. It's crazy. He doesn't know how to sell them. He just has them. So
there must be a huge market. Are there buyers for it? What, did the price go up? No, they went down. I remember the Trump NFTs took a huge dive. But anyway, yes. So the NFTs from Trump.
So Trump NFTs, he made $7 million. They estimate. Then from World Liberty Token, he's made $390 million. From memecoin earnings, another $315 million. And his own memecoin stash, $427 billion. And through his stablecoin business, which we spoke about a couple of episodes ago about how he's doing it through World Liberty Finance, he's made $59 million.
If he really believes in it, there is no reason for him not to change legislation. Look, if he would have been pro-traditional finance, no one would have cared. But because it's pro-crypto, there's so much attention to it. But I still go with this theory, and I think I said this to you before. I don't think the Trump family has a lot of stock because he doesn't seem to care about killing the stock market at all. He cares a lot about the crypto market. So
that's exactly it, right?
It's self-interest in it.
It's why he's launched World Liberty Finance, and you can say that it's part of the family, but it's all the same.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, it pains me to admit, but the Trump administration has been great for crypto so far, and I'm happy that David Sachs is in the White House and trying to influence AI and crypto policy, because under the Biden administration, just to be clear, it was horrific and it was nonsense.
It's been really bullish. It's been really, really good for the industry. And to be honest, however much he makes off of it, it's fine as long as I'm also making some money too.
Oh, that's my point. If he would have lowered taxes, for example, right, and the Trump family would get richer that way, you would have heard a lot less. But because it's crypto, there's so much focus on it. I'm thinking, if he would have just had shares in a mutual fund and the stock market would have gone up, then probably people wouldn't have noticed. But now it's so noticeable because it's specific in crypto. When you said meme coins held by the Trump family, that's the Trump coin, you mean, right?
No, they hold a couple other meme coins as well, apparently.
Oh, they've been able to figure out for what price they bought those.
Because they have his wallet, right? So it kind of goes back to my Hong Kong news. You have the blockchain explorers, so you can track everyone's wallet, see exactly what transaction they made. If you put in my MetaMask wallet, you will see that I bought Pepe at a $9 million market cap and sold way too early. Way too early. My $50 would have been worth $11,000, but I sold it for less than $1,000.
Yeah, and it's still you expecting sympathy or something like this. So like
I'm not. It's just an example that you can track everything already.
Yeah, but Nish always says, support me. This could make me a millionaire. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to support your gambling attitude. Focus on your
Friday
school.
mornings.
Yeah. But it's interesting news, though. And is there other news that you have, or are we sort of done with your take on the Trump family? You're really anti-Trump.
No, I'm not. I actually just don't care. It just doesn't bother me. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay. I think that concludes our news segment.
Now to the markets.
What happened in markets? Before we get to the trading competition, what's going on in the markets right now?
Well, Bitcoin is at 104. I'd say on average, altcoins have maybe dropped like 10%.
But Bitcoin down to 104 from 109 just 24 hours ago, huh?
Yeah, 2.64% right now.
For crypto
Ethereum
moderate.
almost 9%. I know my Sui is like 12%. Avalanche 8.8. Like all these tokens are just kind of dipping.
Why are the altcoins dipping harder than Bitcoin? I
It's just
don't
the
understand.
case. It's just the way it goes. If Bitcoin moves 2%, altcoins move 10%. Just the way it goes.
So if you would now have altcoins, would you sell those and move it to Bitcoin when the market slides like this with these kind of double-digit numbers for altcoins?
I would, but I feel like I'm a bit too late now.
Because it already happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you see Ethereum almost 10% down and Bitcoin 2.5%. Then you obviously should have moved from Ethereum into Bitcoin yesterday.
But
Otherwise,
how do you predict? How do you predict?
Don't sleep. Just sit like this behind your computer the whole day like an idiot. All right. So the markets are not looking good for crypto.
Mm-mm.
In the traditional market, Wall Street hasn't opened yet as we're typing this. It's Friday morning, very early right now in New York. So we can only look at the futures. They're looking down, but not as far down as I thought they would. And the Asian markets haven't closed that poorly. Hong Kong and Tokyo, Singapore, Sydney haven't. They're a little bit down, but nothing major.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen. So
Look at those
ate.
big eyes and those. You look at all. You see all the teeth.
Actually, no, I shouldn't share my screen because it's a complete degenerate trade, and I just don't know how it's gonna do. But basically, I put in
Tell us.
0.2 SOL into this token on Pump Fund, and this is after losing a little bit of money this morning. So 0.2 SOL at current price is about $30. And I basically put into this token called Uranium because on Pump Fund, people create tokens based on trending narratives. And with the Israel-Iran war going on, it's going off because of uranium. And so the token's called Uranium. And the ticker it's actually U238 because that's the
Symbol for
periodic
uranium?
table. Yeah. So anyway, got into this token. I managed to get out my 0.2 SOL and some, and now I still have 0.2764 SOL. 2763.
What did you start with? How was it again? You had your $100 that you based it on Sol, right? Last week when you started.
No, I based $78 on SOL, and I kept 22
78.
as my contingency.
And now you put those 22 into the uranium
No.
token. Oh.
No, my 22 is staying in USDT just in case.
Okay, what happened to the 78 then that you had in Sol? You put those last week into
what? It's now 118.94. And my uranium is sorry, that includes my uranium. So
yeah, that includes must be because Sol didn't go up. Sol actually went down.
Sol went down. I'm down 10% on Sol.
Okay. So how do we summarize this? You started with $100. You kept 22 liquid in USDT. So you have 78 you put from Sol into which token? Into last week
uranium.
You put it in another token though. No, but last week you put it in
another. But I sold it.
And you sold it at a profit?
Yes, but then I lost it this morning.
Okay, and then so
I leveled. So last week I started at 78, ended up at around 150, and lost some this morning, ended up at 100. But now I'm back at 118, baby.
Because you put that 100 into this uranium token and that went up to 118.
Yes. But I didn't put the full 100. I put in $30.
So what does your portfolio look like now, just so we know what to start with next week?
Solana, uranium, and USDT.
So $22 in USDT. How much still in Solana?
92.5 in Solana. And
then how much in uranium?
$25 in uranium.
And overall, you went up from 100 basically in a little over a week to 118.
Plus another 20. Yeah.
I still have
this week. I still have my USDT. I haven't sold it. I haven't touched it.
Okay, so then your $100 is now what? 118 plus 22, 140. You're up 40%. The overall conclusion can be from our market segment that in our trading portfolio competition, my $100 is pretty much nowhere and hers is up 40%. And my distribution is 50% crypto and in Bitcoin and 50% in stocks, in only 2 stocks. And I'm betting still on AI. AI is going to come back, but it's hard to compete with meme coins. I think basically this trading competition is going to end up with a big meme coin promotion. Basically, it's a pump fund promotional podcast that we have here.
It's so funny. I found out that someone's put a copy trading bot on my wallet again. And this is my new wallet. So every time someone does this, I create a new wallet. But now I'm just going to hold on to it.
But if they don't know your wallet now, if we don't share your wallet, then it's hard to do copy, right? Or am I
No, because
am I wrong?
they've already attached it to my trades.
Yeah. But if you then do a new wallet, they cannot find that wallet, right?
No. So whoever was copy trading my last one, sorry.
All right. Well, market news. The outlook then for next week. Here we get to my favorite segment because I beat you on that. Here's the funny thing. So I can do this great analysis and prediction, but then I don't act properly on it. We have already established this. It's been going on for months.
Yeah.
Where I'm pretty good at market analysis and prediction, but then I don't trade based on that.
Why is that?
Because I'm old and I'm nervous and I'm not sure. I have issues. I need help.
It's like me and my stop loss.
Yeah, it's like you stop. I should, but I don't. Same thing. Okay. So for next week, let's start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin higher or lower than right now? Right now it's at 104 point.
I closed the tab. I apologize.
Yeah, I think it's 104 point something.
104.698.
Oh, okay. 104.7 basically. Right. So if we round it off, 104.7. All right, we'll see next week. I think it's going to be up.
I do too.
You always think it goes up because
now
I'm
just sticking with you.
Okay, then you go first in altcoins. What do you think with alts?
Up.
Look at the index. So how can we check the index? We have the altcoin index. Did we look on CoinMarketCap?
Yeah, here, let me
Just do the market cap so we know the total market cap that we have of the altcoins. I think that's a good measurement. Look at her laugh with your $40. Nish has creeped me with 40% versus pretty much nothing or down. I'll have to run the exact numbers, but it's virtually no gains or a small loss. And in the market predictions, I beat Nish twice. She had Bitcoin up. I had Bitcoin down. So I think actually Bitcoin is the same as last week. I don't think I actually won there. I think you just lost. It didn't go up. And then in altcoins, it's far down. So I won that one, but it doesn't do me any good. So what can people learn from this? If you have a gut feeling, go with the gut feeling, which I should have, but I still am. I'm a coward, basically. That's what it comes down to. So my question to you, though, here's my question to you. If you would have $1 million to invest, would you take the same risks, or does this only work when you start with $100?
Only with $100. I would never put more than $20 into a pump fund token. You can pick the top 10 blockchains or tokens that are there on CoinMarketCap. Bitcoin's obviously the safest, but really we've seen how volatile it can be. So just understand what you're getting into when you enter crypto. Don't expect to buy a Lambo next year, because when you chase greed, you're gonna end up losing.
And in that respect, if you think about it, the top 10 tokens 5 years ago, let's say, are so different from the top 10 tokens now. But there were a lot of tokens that were, let's say, up, and everybody said that is the next Ethereum. And it hasn't happened.
Every cycle has the next Ethereum, narrative. And this cycle has been Solana and Sui. That's why I've been so bullish on it. But that being said, every time I've talked about Solana and Sui, especially Sui, I've said when it goes up, sell. Because we've seen the cycles. On one final note, my $25 of uranium is now worth $34. See you next week.
I just lost the connection. I didn't hear that last part.